Hey guys, this is Jeremy from 70 Productions. I'm here with Kolby from YouthMinistryMedia.ca. Today we're going to be talking about what a youth ministry podcast is and something that he has coming out very soon. Sort of already out, sort of not. So Kolby, tell us a little bit about what you're doing online as far as your website and your blog.
Yeah, so about a year and a half ago, we created a website called YouthMinistryMedia.ca, and it's kind of a accident. What happened was that all these youth pastors from all over the world started coming to my website, and we want to give youth pastors world-class resources that actually help them communicate in a digital world, which we live in, and our teens are actually um, fluent in, and they can probably school us in a lot of things digitally. So we're kind of lagging behind, I feel like, and so I feel like I was actually in the kind of the front runner, and I feel like I'm probably in the middle of the pack. But we created this digital youth ministry podcast just recently, and there's a lot of podcasts out there, which we see that that are video podcasts, and I've subscribed to quite a few of them, and they're awesome. The thing is, I don't like about the video podcast is that I don't want to be sitting in front of a computer screen for an hour or 40 minutes. I want to be, at the gym, jogging, or I want to be in my car, going places. I want to actually fill up those dead spaces um, with these kind of video blogs or podcasts. And actually, a lot of times I will have podcasts already queued up for times when I'm in the car or working out or doing whatever. So we kind of wanted to create a resource because there's really not a lot of resources out there for youth pastors that are just like audio.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of, it's one of those things where we launched it, just kind of like introduction of what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And that's kind of the goal, is to post once a month initially until we build a big enough base, and we'll do it every second week, and then go from there and see how it goes. But it's actually a cool resource, and it's a lot of fun doing it. We're still tinkering with like all the all the mics we need and all that kind of stuff. So we're kind of getting it all organized, but we're getting there. So
Yeah, very cool. So what you kind of answered this already, but talking about the idea of the podcast, and I think that the youth ministry world does have a lot of stuff online. But what is it about your podcast that I think people would want to tune in? And I think that one thing you had already said was avoid the video, that you need some audio stuff when you're mowing your lawn or you're out for a run or even just driving to your next destination. But even beyond that, what is it that you have to offer with this podcast that you're going to be as far as content and the setup and really how you're going to share some information and dialogue?
yeah, so I think again, I want to have it to the point where, yeah, it's not a video. My intern who's on the podcast with me, Nathan Pollock, wants video. He loves video. He's like a video freak. He has all these digital SLRs. He keeps on trying to talk me into putting video in there. It's never going to happen. But the thing is that we can give you guys a resource where you can actually, just month, you're on the car, you're in the gym, wherever. The best thing about this podcast is that we're going to actually try to take it on tour with us. And so we like to have guys that are proven in ministry, who are in ministry currently. And so when we talk about how to set up a Facebook page, or when we talk about how to use Twitter or Instagram for your youth ministry, it's not about like hypothetical, like here's how you can do it. It's actually here's how you really do it. It's how my ministry is actually doing it, and it's actually effective. And so we can actually talk about things that don't work, because we're in real youth ministry. We're doing it full time. This blog stuff is part time. We're not making a lot of money on it. It's just a hobby, and that's kind of the beauty of what we're doing, is that it's proven by guys who actually know, and are actually kind of working these things out. So it could be something simple as an Instagram feed. What should I do? What shouldn't I do? When should I post? When shouldn't I post on Instagram? Am I Insta spamming people all the time by posting all these things? These are kind of the challenges we're facing as youth pastors. And so kind of the idea of the podcast would be broken down to segments. It'd be kind of like kind of like tech news, the beginning, kind of like Twit or if you look at subscribe to podcasts out there, it'd be kind of like a stuff happening this month or this week in tech, and then it'd be like a very practical how-to, and then the very end it'd be kind of like a kind of a recap conclusion, and even in there answering your questions. That's kind of the goal.
Very cool. So
yeah, like one of the podcasts we're trying to kind of mimic, which we love, is Michael Hyatt's podcast.
Yeah.
And that guy's a genius, and we love the way he does his podcast, the way it's set up, and so we're trying to kind of clone that. That's kind of that's what we want to do.
Very cool. So as far as people getting on board with all of this, I'm assuming that they'll be able to see it at least as a video or an audio file for your blog, but the reality is people need to connect with this on iTunes through their phone or through their desktop. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true. So,
okay. And we'll have the link in the notes below, but for me, I think maybe one of the biggest things I'd love to hear as far as this is how can people interact with you, because I love the idea of having a podcast where people talk about stuff, but there's always this disconnect of, well, you're doing it one way and I'm sort of doing it, but I'm doing it this other way. How do you feel like you're going to be able to interact with people with this podcast?
Yeah. So what we want to do is we'll have a post in the beginning of the week, and that post will have like what it's going to be on the podcast, and then even in there, you can leave a comment on the blog, and ideally with your name, website, or blog, and your question, and we'll kind of give you kind of love back to your website and your blog, and we'll actually type out your question on the postscript, the blog post. Also, we're eventually going to set up a system where if you look at Michael Hyatt's website, there's a little icon on the side where you can actually kind of call in and leave a voice message, and then we can just simply add that into our podcast, and that's kind of the goal eventually. We want to make it a collaborative community where it is a community of youth pastors kind of conversing and dialoguing about technology, and not just be like my voice or my intern's voice, Nathan Pollock's, but just really us together, and share resources. Like maybe maybe there's a great website or resource that this random youth pastor wrote on. We'd want to link to that. Like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. Go check out this website, and that's kind of what we want to do. So.
Very cool. And I will say that when I subscribed, I was number 2 on the list. So that's how much I endorse something like this. You guys need to go subscribe. To end this, I always ask the dreaded question: what is one thing you're doing online this time besides the podcast that you'd love for people to check out or read on your blog?
Yeah, we've been working on our blog quite a bit, and we have lots of cool posts on there. With I think one we posted today was kind of finding your voice in youth ministry, and how I think eventually we will kind of do a series on preaching with technology, and really how guys need to find their groove in the pulpit and also in front of their students, and not be clones to so and so do it this way, but actually be you. And that's the church. The church hired you. They want to hear your voice, not Francis Chan or whoever. They want to hear you. And so that's kind of what we're doing. Kind of a funny thing we did yesterday. Here's kind of a funny story. We actually gave away a Starbucks gift card on our website, and all you do is scan it. And no one actually did that.
Oh, really? I was stuck indoors.
So it's still sitting there. It's still sitting there, and so go buy some coffees.
Well, it'll be there until it's gone, right?
Exactly. So.
I love it. And for me, I would also promote, I loved your social media etiquette post that you had a little while back of what does that look like for social media online. So check out that. We'll have that link show notes. I'd love to ask you guys on YouTube and on our blog, what are some things as far as podcasts that you'd love to hear? What are some topics, even some questions that you'd love to ask Kolby? He is a social media and technology genius that I personally rely on. I actually have him on my must-read RSS feed, so leave your questions below. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Kolby, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you guys next week.
Thanks for having me.